of Stephen F. Austin. When is a man a Mason? When he can look out over the rivers, the hills, and the far horizon with a profound sense of his own littleness in the vast scheme of things. Thus, Joseph Fort Newton, native-born Texian, great preacher, great Mason, son of the master of Decatur Lodge, recognized our great heritage. For a man's heritage is his most priceless possession. And the fabric of our Texas Masonic heritage is woven of many things, of men and monuments, cities and open spaces, the beauty, the history, the story of Texas itself. Learn from your heritage, my brethren, for it has been wisely said, the past is prologue. You might have come to Texas with La Salle in 1685, with the Spanish, or the ill-fated Nolan expedition of 1801. No one knows. You have roots in Mexico, for Masons like Miguel Hidalgo, father of Mexican independence, Lorenzo de Zavala, and Jose Navarro, great statesmen and patriots, promoted the spread of Freemasonry. You did come to this land with Zebulon Pike, with Ben Milam in 1818, and with the colonists of Stephen F. Austin. And your formal Texas heritage began that fateful day in March of 1835 at Old Brazoria, where today is enshrined for all time to come the roots of Texas Masonry, the old Masonic Charter Oak. Your first physical mark in Texas is a brick-and-mortar monument in Fort Bend County, built by Brother William Morton in 1825 to mark the last resting place of a sojourning brother, Robert C. Gillespie. You might have remained a part of Freemasonry in Mexico, but Texas was too big, and the Mexican government had grown tyrannical and careless. The lamp of freedom and independence was lighted. The rumble of guns began to fill the air. You were with Eli Mitchell in that quiet glade near Gonzales when he fired the first shot for Texas independence. You went with Edward Burleson and his Texians to San Antonio de Bexar, where Ben Milam, Freemason, gave his life in winning the battle. You saw the clouds of war turn dark. The Alamo was lost with Davy Crockett. Jim Bowie, William Barrett Travis, and all the rest. And at Goliad, where stands the lovely Bahia Mission, the immortal James Spannon and his little band fought and lost and were executed. martyrs all. Craftsmen, live your heritage in that cramped little building at Washington on the Brazos. Hear the words of 22 of your brethren as they help to carve out your Declaration of Independence, your Texas Constitution. Go from that room with Sam Houston as he leads the retreat to victory at San Jacinto. Stand on the shores of Copano Bay as Isaac Burton and his little band of Rangers capture not one, but 3 Mexican supply ships with only a rowboat and are dubbed forever the Horse Marines. Now you're riding with the Texas Rangers, born in those days of strife, as you fight 100 unheralded battles. Join Jack Coffee Hayes in 1841 as he holds off a band of Indians at famed Enchanted Rock. And again in 1847 as he leads Los Diablos Tejanos, the Texan Devils, at Chapultepec in the war with Mexico. As the Rangers protected the spread of settlers north and west, you took Freemasonry with you into the rugged country. You rode with Sam Hamilton Walker, who watched 17 of his comrades die in the infamous Black Bean Lottery of Death in the war with Mexico, and then died himself as he and his famed Walker's Rangers gained vengeance in the Battle of Beaumont. Join Ben McCullough as he turned up everywhere there was a fight, from the first assault on the Alamo, the war with Mexico, chasing Indians and bandidos. Jump into the saddle with John S. Rip Ford as he defeated the proud Comanche and their leader, Iron Jacket, and follow the exploits of young Lawrence Sullivan Ross, who met his great challenge at the Pease River. His horse shot from under him, he dueled and defeated Pete Nacona, the great Comanche chief. Confederate general at 24, outstanding Texas governor, president of Texas A&M, where he led the development of a great university. Now you're on patrol with Ranger Captain Leander McNelly, a skinny 5 foot 6 inches of quiet dynamite who tamed the area from the Nueces to the Rio Grande, and with another little man, John B. Jones, Texas Deputy Grand Master, when he led the Ranger effort that trapped and killed the notorious Sam Bass at Round Rock. Craftsmen, take deep pride in your Texas Ranger heritage. Your new state was born on February 19, 1846, and you were there as past Grand Master Anson Jones, the last president of the Republic, cradled the Lone Star flag in his arms and said, "The Lone Star of Texas has culminated and become fixed forever in the American Union. The Republic of Texas is no more." Even as the new flag was being raised, you could hear the increasing thunder of hoofbeats on the Comanche war trail. You helped build a great band of forts across the western face of Texas, and you carried the fraternity with you to Fort Belknap, Fort Bliss, Fort Brown, Fort Clark, Fort Concho, Fort Davis, Fort Mason, Fort Sam Houston, and many others. As the frontier was being secured, your brother Masons were in the vanguard of the fighting at such places as Adobe Walls, where Billy Dixon fired his famous shot. At the Battle of the Natchez, second only in results to San Jacinto, where stood out Kelsey Douglas, Burleson, and Thomas Rusk. At Plum Creek, with Thomas Hardiman, Burleson, and Ben McCullough. These steadfast brethren caused men to seek Freemasonry because of their example. Then, as the Indian menace began to subside, suddenly it was war again. You were pitted in a terrible turmoil, brother against brother, the Confederacy and the Union. Your Masonic heritage is spread across many battlefronts as gray-clad volunteers from Texas lodges met their destiny in the saddles of the hard-riding Terry's Texas Rangers, among the grim ranks of Hood's dreaded Texas Brigade. They fought for their cause and died and lost. Countless Masons will live forever in the lore of the Civil War. Men like young Richard Dowling, the hero of the astounding Battle of Sabine Pass, unparalleled in world history, where today a monument forever enshrines his brilliance and his heroism. Finally, the sounds of war began to fade, and you came back to rebuild your homes, your families, your lodges. On the frontier, the Longhorn was king, and Masonry rode both point and drag, moving to the far reaches of the new state. You rode stirrup to stirrup with Claiborne Varner, chartermaster of Waco 92. Across the Goodnight Trail with Charles Goodnight and Oliver Loving. On the famed Matador Ranch with Henry H. Hank Campbell and Scottish Mason John McBain, charter member and first elected secretary of Matador Lodge. With Parson George Slaughter and the Chisholms. Spur ranches Clifford B. Jones, later president of Texas Tech. The Reynolds brothers of the Long X. Men of the XIT and other great ranches of the Llano Estacado. Shriner and Tivy of the Central Hill Country. Coastal cattlemen Henry Kinney, George Fulton, Robert Justice Clayburgh, scores of others who built Masonry as they built their ranches. Inevitably, you branded the flanks of your cattle with Masonic emblems. The Masonic apron brand appeared at least 3 times, and at least 4 owners have used the square and compasses beginning in 1884. Today, at least one Texas rancher, past Grandmaster Furman Vinson, registers the brand of a Freemason as his own. Yes, the story of the Texas frontier is a lively, moving drama. And along with adventurers, soldiers, cattlemen, and settlers, religious leaders played a vital part in establishing our early Texas Masonic heritage. A nobler group of preachers never lived than those brave men who dared the dangers of the Texas frontier. Reverend Littleton Fowler, your first Grand Chaplain, who leveled the first cornerstone of a Protestant church west of the Sabine River. Comanche Reuben Ross, famous Baptist frontier minister, Bible in his hand, 2 guns on his hips. Peter Gravis, who preached from the Edwards Plateau to the Staked Plains, and fought and preached as a Confederate officer and chaplain of the Texas Rangers. Episcopal Bishop Alexander Garrett, second master of Dallas Lodge. A monument marks the spot where he held the first church service in West Texas in 1878. And when the American Bible Society was formed back in May of 1839, 7 of the 8 officers, all ministers, were members of Old Milam Lodge. At Kingsville, Chamberlain Lodge is named for Hiram Chamberlain, organizer of the first Protestant church on the Rio Grande, First Presbyterian at Brownsville, preacher, master of Rio Grande Lodge 81, district deputy, all at the same time. Much of the impetus that caused Masonry to support public education in those early days came from ministers like the head of Alvarado Masonic Institute, Reverend John Collier, Alvarado Lodge Secretary. Dozens of Masonic schools and institutes sprung up. By 1848, Grand Lodge was setting aside money for public education. Then, as state and local governments began to take over and finance public schools, you turned your attention to the care and education of your own. Masonic leaders moved heaven and earth to get our Masonic home and school started, but once begun, it thrived. In 1899, as today, your youngsters stole your heart. And much of your Texas Masonic heritage is wrapped up in that 200 acres at Fort Worth. One of your greatest memories is of the fabulous Mighty Mites of 1932. That incredible team that almost without substitutes tied Corsicana for the state football championship 0-0, but lost on penetration.